Now, there are some really important sections that kind of stand out more than others in the FDD. Those items are item 1, item 7, item 12, item 15, 19, 20, and 21. With that said, they are all important. They're all important because it's a legal document, it's a disclosure document, so they're all important. Let's get into the video. Item number 1. Item number 1 is pretty basic. It just tells you about the franchisor, their affiliates, their predecessors. So it's good to know the history behind the franchise and who they were. Could wind up leading to some red flags. More times than not, it's pretty standard. Just kind of tells you more about the franchisor and who their affiliates are and how long they've been around. Item number 7, the estimated initial investment. This is so key. In item number 7, they're going to list a range of what that franchise, the total initial investment that it's gonna take in order for you to get your location open. So that's gonna be inclusive of the ongoing fees, the one-time fees, all of those different things. So as an example, if the range is listed from $250,000 to $400,000 to get a franchise open, well, that's a huge range. That's gonna impact a lot of decisions for you. What sort of access to capital do you have? If you only have access to $250,000 worth of capital and the range is to $400,000, well, you need to be prepared that it takes on the higher end in order to get the franchise location open. Also questions that you can ask around item 7 are, hey, what are the difference between the locations that were on the lower end to get open and on the higher end to get open? So the franchisor can explain that to you and what that was like so you can get a guesstimate of what your experience may be like. Also, in item number 7, they're also going to include 3 months of additional capital that they recommend that you have in your business in case it takes some time for your business to get ramped up. So you don't necessarily pay all of that money out front. I mean, there could be listed $30,000 to $60,000 in additional funds that they want you to have set aside. In my wife and I franchise business, the very first one we opened from scratch, we got our business open and profitable in less than 60 days. So that really wasn't a factor for us. And if you want to learn how we did that, I have a free blueprint on my website, tariqjohnson.com, called my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days, where I go over exactly A to Z how we got our business profitable and what it will take for you to get any business profitable in any industry at any time. Make sure to get it totally free, and it'll provide a lot of value to you. Item number 12, territory. Man, this is a big one. This is a controversial topic in the land of franchising, because in this section is where it's going to detail the radius or area that a franchise can operate their business in, and also disclose if other franchisees or even the franchisor can compete with you in that territory. I will tell you what, in the franchise that we were in, we did not have a protected territory. Now, just because you don't have a protected territory doesn't mean the franchisor is going to screw you over and open one up themselves or have someone else open one. In our case, I remember with our franchise, the one that we had in California, which we've now sold, but there was a point where someone was looking to open up another one within about 5 or 10 miles from us, and the franchisor called us and said, hey, someone is possibly looking at opening a location there. Do you feel like that would impact your business? What are your thoughts on that? I thought that was really nice of them to do. They weren't required to do that by law. Most of the time, franchisors, if you're with a good one, they want to build a relationship. They don't want to put you in a position that's going to challenge your business. It really doesn't benefit anyone. Sometimes when you have these bigger franchise concepts though, they really don't care. They're all about churning out as many locations as possible. Subway is a franchise that was known to do this. I mean, they had them on almost on every block. and that really affected franchisees' sales. 7-Eleven is another concept that's similar. You can often see 7-Elevens right across the street from each other to benefit from the different traffic. So you want to understand, do you have a protected territory? If so, what is your protected territory? If you don't have a protected territory, can you potentially negotiate a protected territory? And this is really important. So make sure you have a thorough understanding of what is or is not in this section. All right, so item number 15 talks about the obligation to participate in the actual operation of the franchise business. This is important because if you're planning to be semi-absentee, if you don't know what that term semi-absentee means, I have a link in the video below, the 7 different types of franchise ownership and listing what they all are and how they work. You can go check that out. While you're down there, give this video a thumbs up. If you're enjoying this and getting value out of this, it helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to more and more people. It'd be very helpful to me and the channel. I would appreciate it. And also subscribe while you're here. If you've made it this long in the video, because I imagine we're through a good bit. I'm looking at my camera. It says we're about 20 minutes in. Once it gets edited down, it'll be a little bit more than that. But if you're still watching and you're not subscribed, come on. I mean, this is free advice and it took a long time to make and research and put all this information together. So please subscribe. It really helps the channel a lot. But this section talks about if you need to be an owner-operator, if you can be absentee, if you can be semi-absentee. So make sure the way you plan to run your business is in alignment with what the FDD says is your required role in the business. Item 19, it's the infamous item 19. Guys, item 19 is huge. This is like one of the most important, if not the most infamous section and item in a franchise disclosure document. In the FDD, this is where they talk about financial performance representations. So item 19 is where, actually, let me take a step back for a second. If you're not familiar, franchisors are not allowed to tell you how much money you can make. They can't tell you how much money other people are making. If you ask them and they say, hey, we can't tell you that, it's because they can't legally. It's not allowed. The only place where they can disclose financial performance representations are in item 19. And so some franchisors don't list in item 19 at all. And so if they do not list in item 19, to me, honestly, that's suspicious. I mean, if you are a franchise concept and you've been around a decent amount of time, you have a lot of locations, and you don't list your item 19, what are you hiding? What are you hiding? And if that's the case and you're looking at a franchise that has an item 19, man, I would do heavy due diligence and research on the franchisee validation when you talk to existing franchise owners so that you can get a clear sense of what type of sales people are making, what their profit margins are they even making money, how long does it take to get profitable, asking all of those questions. But there are varying levels of transparency in the item 19. Some franchisors list very minimal information. Some franchisors list the entire P&L and profit and loss statement of every single location that's within their system. So you're really going to want to go through the item 19 thoroughly and really understand the numbers. If you need help understanding the numbers, I act in a coaching capacity sometimes for people that are going through the due diligence process. If you're interested in that, you can go to tariqjohnson.com/consulting and apply to work with me, and I can help you navigate through that process and understand the item 19. But this is a really important section, and where you're going to be able to get an understanding of what type of sales stores are generating, and then even potentially what sort of profit margin they're actually making as well, and if you can even make money owning this franchise. All right, guys, we're almost around the corner. We are at item number 20. Item number 20 contains outlets and franchisee information. So it summarizes the 3-year history of the franchisor's corporate-owned locations, if they have any of the corporate-owned locations. It summarizes the outlets that may have been open, closed, transferred, terminated. This is going to give you powerful insight, right? Is the franchise system growing? Have they been opening new locations? If not, why? That may be a red flag. Why are they not growing? Do you really want to go into a franchise system that's not actually growing their system? And how many have been transferred, which is, how many locations have been sold and then those agreements get transferred? How many locations have closed? Take a look. Are they closing a lot of locations? Have they closed any locations? If so, why? What were the reason why some of those concepts, or what were the reason why some of those locations closed? And if there are a lot of locations closing, that could be a red flag as well. If there are very little amount closing and a lot opening, then that's something that could be a very positive sign. That's something that could be a very positive sign. Also, item 20 is also where it's going to list the franchisee information. A lot of people don't even realize that as they're going through the franchise validation process, generally that section is going to list all the franchisees' information. You can call them, you can email them. They may be challenging to get a hold of, but just because a franchisor only gives you 2 or 3 names to do franchise validation with doesn't mean that you can't go in the FDD, find other people's information, and call them. So that's a really helpful section to really help you get a really thorough understanding of how the franchise concept's doing overall. Item number 21, financial statement. So this is in a list of financial statements for the franchisor, the overall brand, and tell you what their assets are, their income, their profit. You're gonna get an idea of how strong financially or how weak financially the franchisor system is. Take a look at that, review it. If you don't understand it, ask the franchisor to go through and explain it to you so you can get an idea of how strong or weak they are financially. Are they going to be able to be around and survive any sort of economic downturns if they happen? Are they going to be able to provide you support and invest in the growth of the brand and franchisees? That's going to give you the idea there.